Love, hate, wisdom, care, and hypocrisy. To be unable to hate is to fear the power of one's convictions. It's to be unable to stand in one's truth and to choose what one values and what one opposes. Fear comes from uncertainty. Confidence comes from certainty. An alignment of values and coherence of feelings, thoughts, principles, and actions is what produces trust, certainty, self-respect, confidence, and happiness. A point here that's very important: all knowledge is contextual. All knowledge is contextual. Remember that, always. Can hate be misused? Of course it can be. Can love be misused? Of course it can be. Just like a hammer, a nail gun, or a shovel can all be misused. Yet if we use them in a responsible, intelligent, and rational way, they are tools of our beingness that can help discover and experience our values and live a life of contentment in this dimension or the next, or any. To value something necessarily means to oppose something else. If you value health, you disvalue sickness. Hate is an expression of love. My goodness, has anyone ever heard that before? Probably not. To hate the suffering of starving children is to express that you love life and wish for them to be happy, not suffering and pain. Hate and love are on the same continuum, as I discovered today. That continuum is care. Love is an expression of care in the positive, and hate is an expression of care in the negative, obviously when used correctly. If you hate, you become evil. This is what we hear. I actually heard this today, and this is what sparked me to write a lot of this actually, because I heard someone saying that they know all the evil that's going on in the world, but they still refuse to hate their enemy, to hate the cabal and all these people who are doing evil things and torturing and doing terrible stuff. I was going to say kids, but not just to kids, but to you, to me, to everyone. They have no discrimination against the atrocities they commit. To hate is to oppose and to wish for the non-existence of something. Generally, perhaps not in every single case, but generally, when you hate something, you wish for its non-existence. To hate torture, for example, and to wish for those who torture others to cease to exist or to cease their torture is to not wish to become a torturer yourself. Otherwise, that would be a contradiction. Let's give an example here. Let's say you see someone putting, I don't even want to say it. I was going to say your mum or someone you care about on a stretching rack. It's just a horrible thing. Let's not even think about that. Let's just use anyone, right? Someone else that you don't care about on a stretching rack, and they're doing terrible things. It's like, who are you? What are you if you don't hate those things which commit evil? Like, that's a terrible thing, and that hate is it's a feeling, it's an expression of love, really. It's like, well, because you don't want that person you care about, or even that stranger, to be experiencing that terrible cruelty and that suffering. Like, that's a very weird thing to not hate evil and torture. And I think it's a weak thing, or just inexperienced and just a simple mistake, perhaps. Though ultimately, I think it comes from weakness, to not be able to express one's hate, to only be hyperfixated on one aspect, a one-dimensional point of reference on reality. Just love, 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 love. It's so one-dimensional. Sure, yeah, love is great, love is great. But what is love if there's no hate? What is love if there's no freedom, no slavery? To understand, there is no love. You can't just have one concept and that be everything. You need reality to be as it is, which is a duality of all these different concepts that all work together to make a great gestalt whole in what can be a beautiful thing when you look at all the conceptual points of reality. Just think about that, right? It's like that person is committing evil and torturing that person on the torturing rack. I hate them for doing that, meaning I want them to either stop it right now or I want them to not exist, meaning maybe you shoot them in the head or just they erupt and into a ball of fire and they're dead, right? They're gone. Or just their spirit pops out and they're gone, out of there. That's the kind of hate I'm talking about. If you then say, I want to torture them, Well, that's not hate anymore. That's going into evil then. Hate could lead you to evil, perhaps. It's like love can lead you to evil. How many people who have loved their partners then murdered them? Though you could definitely argue that wasn't proper love, and I'd stand by that. But that would just be a contradiction to want to torture. Just because you hate something doesn't mean you want to become evil. That's ridiculous. I think the greatest thing to hate is evil, because that's the greatest thing you wish for non-existence, or not non-existence, right? But you just don't want to experience, because if there wasn't the possibility of evil, you can't understand goodness or freedom or anything. It's like, sure, evil needs to exist, you get that. It's like in yourself, everyone has the ability to do evil shit, but a lot of us, most of us, some of us have it under control. It's like, actually, one good thing Jordan Peterson said, because I think most of what he says is bullshit, but one good thing, it's like, he said, a good man is not a harmless man. A good man is a dangerous man who has that under control. I like that. That's actually a really good saying. And it's like, take the good from the bad. If you don't like what someone has to say, just take the good, forget about the bad. That's a skill that should be taught at school, shouldn't it? That's something that people lack, but it's very valuable. Obviously, that's a contradiction to want to torture those who torture. It's a contradiction to want to destroy and eradicate evil, but then think by hating evil and wanting to destroy evil, you're going to become evil. No, they're two totally, completely different things. And I think that comes from weakness, it comes from fear. The worst thing in the world you can do, perhaps, one way to look at it, is to become a hypocrite. A living contradiction of conflicting and opposing thoughts and actions, because it means you have betrayed your own values and can't trust anyone or anything, especially yourself. Well, maybe that actually is the number one worst thing you can do to yourself. Oh, it's bloody up there. It's to live in a constant state of fear of yourself, not knowing how you will act and feel, and to essentially feel like a slave in your own mind, at the mercy of chaotic whim worship and childish immaturity, of not having solid principles to act by, of breaking your own word. You can't even keep your own word to yourself because you're a hypocrite. Oh man, that is awful punishment. It's a terrible self-infliction to commit an atrocity against the self, to become a hypocrite. A hypocrite says they value the environment, but then litters. They say they value their freedom, but then cede it at the first opportunity. They say they recognize the evil in the world, yet give it their seal of approval by inviting and bringing more life into it. They say they want to be healthy, but then eat junk food. They say they care about their friends, but don't speak up when they see them thinking and acting in ways which cause self-harm. A hypocrite is one who lives out their contradictions. A hypocrite can't make up their mind because they are weak and lack character. They float between concretes meaning specific perceptual examples and not by principle, and haven't or don't want to act on principle. It's like someone who acts on concretes, like, oh, I won't rape this person because I might get caught here. But if the circumstances changes, they may change their mind about rape, for instance. Whereas someone who lives by principle goes, I don't rape. No. Someone, oh, what if someone gave you $1 billion? No, I don't rape. What if someone was going to kill you? Well, that can get into difficult grounds. That could get into difficult grounds. I mean, if it was just being killed, you could probably say, no, I'm not going to do that. But if someone was saying, well, they're going to torture you, well, that totally changes the context. Remember, all knowledge is contextual. Everything is contextual. All things change depending upon context. But obviously, it's like, yeah, I can trying to prove myself wrong, or just showing how, there's so much to know. There is so much to know and so little time. We can come back to that in another video, actually, because that's an interesting topic. They're too afraid to choose a side or take a stance. They wish to be flexible, to bend and warp themselves according to the situation. It's like you stand on your principle. Like if there's emergency or extreme situations, like someone was saying, you've got to rate this person, otherwise I'm going to put you on the stretching rack for 3 years. You're like, oh my goodness, okay, well that's a totally different circumstance, right? It's not, oh, will I get away with it? Or, yeah, I'll do it for $1 billion. It's like, well, they're not emergency, extreme situations. No, but being tortured for, or just being tortured at all is. Obviously, that's a totally different set of circumstances. They wish to be flexible, to bend and warp themselves according to the situation, rather than taking a firm position they know to be right because of premeditated and predetermined principles. It's like, say with that fashion craze of when in 2020 everyone was doing, I can't say because, man, YouTube's good at picking up words now. You got to be so careful what you say because there's that one topic, right, which you know what I'm talking about, but it will pick it up if I say even some words that aren't that word. So that fashion craze, yeah, if it came to that, I'd prefer to be tortured. Obviously, that's not something you want, but if it's get that thing, I actually told a guy once, because he said, have you gone and done it yet? Have you got the thing? And I said, mate, I would prefer to put my hands down my pants, grab my nuts, fucking hold them like this, get a knife, cut them off, put them in my mouth, chew them and swallow them. I would prefer that than getting that thing. And I'm dead fucking serious. I would prefer that. Obviously, they're both absolutely horrendous and imagining actually doing that would be disgusting and sick. But if you had to choose, of course I'd do that because I understand the consequences of that thing. The hypocrite is soft and supple, easily malleable and manipulatable. The confident man of conviction is hard and solid. This does not mean that the man of conviction is rude or arrogant and cannot change his mind. The opposite is true. The convicted man of purpose and principle is dedicated to being the best he can be. He cannot be the best he can be by lying to himself about his status or value, which is what arrogance is to think one's superior than their actuality. And then you have humility, which is the opposite. It's believing oneself to be inferior to the actuality, or by treating others in a way which he would not wish to be treated. That's also arrogance and being rude to others, right? Because that's a violation of the golden rule of equity, to treat others as you wish to be treated. That's a hypocritical contradiction. Or by being humble and being unable to change his mind. The principled man is a proud man. Only a properly proud man can change his mind. And pride and stubbornness are two totally different things, but people get them mixed up. Because he is so firm and has chosen the side of truth, his feelings be damned on the subject of fact. In the context of being proud, I want to know what is true. I want to know what is correct and what is right. If someone brings into my field of vision opposing contradictory ideas that prove me wrong, I don't give a fuck how I feel about that. Oh shit, okay, rightio. I might feel some aversion to it for the first couple of minutes, maybe a day if we're pushing it there, but then I go, yes, okay, I see I made a mistake. Yep, wrong, change the mind, right? That's what I mean. His firm and has chosen to the side of truth, his feelings be damned on the subject of fact. The hard man does not flex on his principles. He adheres to them like glue. He does not say that today it is not okay to rape, but tomorrow it is. Today it's okay to support terrorists, but tomorrow it isn't. He stands hard on what he believes to be right, and he only believes what he has proved to be true so thoroughly that it escapes the realm of belief and moves into the realm of factual knowledge. Just a quick thing there, because you can have facts that aren't, well, you can have like knowledge that isn't related to reality. It's like Hagrid from Harry Potter is the keeper of the keys, and the gamekeeper before him was Og, and there's 107 staircases or something like that in Hogwarts Castle. It's like, yeah, that's a lot of knowledge. They're facts, but it's like, are they reality-based facts? Are they factual knowledge? Well, no. It's from a sci-fi. It's from a fiction. Oh, sci-fi? No, it's not a sci-fi, just a fantasy. So, on the chance the new information comes into his awareness, which proves him wrong, and the proud and firm man of conviction must change his mind, whether he likes it or not. If a man who is proud cannot change his mind in the face of new and more powerful evidence and proof, then he's not proud, he's humble. Because he is chained to the principle of truth, no matter if a new idea or concept is at odds with what he initially thought was true. The hard, strong, and confident man of objectivity does not care about being wrong, only about being right. He feels no shame or guilt when corrected, only a sense of relief and thanks that he is no longer believing a lie. The proud man is unshakably dedicated to the truth. He will not bend, flex, or break on this principle. He will not become soft or lax or unsure or uncertain. He is positive. He has made up his mind and is an unstoppable object and an immovable force. The idea of whim worship, which is not having any principles, of changing one's mind at a drop of a hat, not based on evidence, reason, or principle, but because of feeling and the situation and memory and the dictates of authority. It's anathema to the principled man, the enemy. To become a hypocrite is the worst nightmare of the man who hates what he hates and who loves what he loves on principle, rational principle. An honourable, principled, proud, reasonable, and objective man that did not hate is the same as saying that that man did not love and actually does have no honour. A man who is wise yet hates nothing is not wise. Wisdom is to express reason, intelligence, and care for the benefit of promoting the healthy existence of life. One way to explain it. Wisdom can recognize forces that oppose this objective and is, of course, opposed to them. If one who is wise did not reject and oppose acts and beings who are unwise, then how is one possibly considered wise? Wisdom is only wisdom if it is expressed. It cannot exist in a void detached from a reality where unwise and wise actions can take place. Wisdom is to know how to build an atom bomb, but choosing not to. If wisdom recognized this fact, then chose to build it, in contradiction of wisdom, then there is no wisdom. Wisdom can only be wise when applied, when executed, when transformed from theory into the practical. It is wise to hate that which opposes peace and joy. To hate means to express care in a manner of non-existence. It is to recognize, you could say non-existence or non-interference. It is to recognize that a force which sought to bring ruin, destruction, and slavery is not something which should be loved or even tolerated, but hated, stopped, and prevented. Hate is the Spirit's way of saying, that thing is not good. It is not what I love, not what I want to experience, and can be, but not always, is objectively wrong. Because, for example, not everything that one hates needs to be objectively wrong. But that's where, like, a pure, beautiful hate comes from. Like, the most beautiful kinds of hate is for the greatest things that deserve hate, that are worthy of hate. And those things that are worthy of hate are the things that are furthest away from love, from goodness, from righteousness, which is evil, essentially. And that is the most pure form of hate, is to hate evil. And that can be considered a beautiful thing. It's just like anger. Anger can be a beautiful thing when it's expressed for the right reasons as well. If you're getting angry about your football team losing, that's a sick perversion of anger. If you're getting angry that police and government and the evil banking system are ruling and dominating the world and turning your neighbor into a mindless slug, that is something that is worth getting angry about. And it's a beautiful thing, and it's a necessity for any man or woman of honor, of justice, of reason, of order, of peace, of joy, of love, of care, of wisdom and sovereignty. Here's an example of how hate can be subjective. One, because one could hate waking up early, like me, but this is not objectively wrong, only subjectively wrong for the individual who feels that way. Thus, their hate, or my hate in that case, drives them to create a lifestyle where they don't need to wake up early. When I was in the army, I did not enjoy waking up early. Actually, no, it wasn't that bad when I was in the army. It was when I had my boot camp and I had to get up early to run my 6 a.m. sessions. Yeah, that was nasty. Did not like that. Oh, actually thinking about it, yeah, terrible, terrible. But I know some people love it. That's fine. There's lots of room for subjectivity there. Objective hate typically revolves around the expression of being anti-evil. to care for the objective well-being of the self and all other sentient life forms. To hate that which seeks to inflict cruelty upon life is good, because in this instance, to hate that which is cruel is to express one's love for the opposite of cruelty, which could be considered as benevolence or joy. Why would one refrain from hating that which they oppose? It makes no sense. If they opposed torture and unnecessary suffering, why would they be afraid? Why would they fear hating those things? Why would someone do that? Why would they be afraid to let themselves hate in a manner which was justifiable? It was warranted, it was reasonable, it was ordered, commanded by the very nature of their being to hate that which deserved to be hated. Well, I don't want to say ordered and commanded because it makes it feel like you've got no choice then, and that's no good. Then you're just an android or robot at that point. So you do have a choice. This is what I think. Because they fear if they allow themselves to hate that which they oppose, they will somehow become like their enemy. This is nonsense. If one was witnessing the torture of another and felt happiness, peace and joy at this observation, then they would have good reason to warrant they may become a torturer themselves. If one was watching another being tortured and wished it would stop so badly that they hated the ones causing the torture, how could this possibly mean they are now considered a torturer? There's no connection there. There's no causal relationship there. It'd be rationalism. It'd be connecting points in a void which are not connected, that are detached. It's just making connections. It's saying bad people seem to hate, from what I've watched from movies and what Hollywood's taught me. Bad people who hate are evil. Bad people who hate and who are evil become like Darth Vader or Voldemort and they do evil things. Therefore, if I hate, I become like Darth Vader or Voldemort or Thanos or something. And it's like, that's a rationalistic philosophy. It's just connecting things which seem connected in a void, detached from reality, right? But when you come back to reality and you explain it how I explained just here, then you go, whoa, no, it doesn't work like that. It's totally different. You got it all wrong, right? You need to connect all these concepts, like the concept of hate leading you to become the enemy, right? You need to link those concepts back to the perceptual level, and that's what we did with the stretching rack. I don't really want to go over that again. It's pretty nasty. If they were to torture the torturer, of course, they could become like them, the very thing which they oppose. Even though to punish those who have done wrong is not an evil compared to the torture of those who are innocent, who have done no wrong. That's a massive Grand Canyon's worth of difference there. Still, would it be justified to torture those who torture? No, I don't think so. No. Would it be justified to shoot them in the head and give them a swift death? Yes, that would be justified. Is this what should be done? Depends on the circumstances. If there are an alternative course of action available in which the torturers could be rehabbed and cured from their mental affliction, well, if there is, then that is the best course of action. But if that's not available, if the power to be able to fix those people with those mental diseases who are torturing, and they're most likely plagued by the obedience virus, if they can be rehabbed, that's the best thing to do. If not, then in the interests and preservation of life, love, of hate, of care, of peace, of order, of reason, and of wisdom, then the best course of action is to eliminate those who violate the golden rule of equity and to protect those who have not. Love is a means to protect those who have done no wrong, just as hate is. Let me say that again. Love is a means to protect those who have done no wrong, just as hate is. That's how you use hate properly. It's just like swinging an axe. You use it to cut down trees and to build homes, right? If you're using it incorrectly, well, you can imagine what happens when you use it incorrectly. Just like using hate properly. Most of the time, it's like people have attached this conceptual, perceptual kind of mentality to the concept of hate. It's like they're seeing the axe only as a weapon to do nasty things, instead of seeing it as the useful tool it can be. That's what they've done to hate. They've got the wrong concepts and percepts in their mind about what hate actually is and how it can be used appropriately. Love is to stand for what is right. Hate is to oppose what is wrong. They work beautifully together as a harmonious duo. There cannot be one without the other. To love is to support a value. How can one support a value without opposing another? They cannot. It's a contradiction to say you like hot weather. If there was no cold, then what do you mean by hot weather? It cannot be understood and is unknown. You must have both to understand both, or either or. To love and support the truth is to hate and oppose the lies. Hate is not your enemy. Your enemy who wishes to cause you pain, suffering, and agony is. The enemy are those who wish to enslave you and bring your life into ruins, to take away your freedom and restrict you from doing that which you have the right to do. That is what is worthy of hate. That is who your enemy is. That is what, even more specifically, your enemy is. Your ability to hate is simply your means to oppose evil that is committed against you or others. Hate is a method of expressing your disapproval against that which you think is wrong and which should not be allowed.